She had graduated from high school just 9 days earlier, and in less than 3 minutes, Kelsey Smith vanished from the cameras forever. These are the last recorded images of her. And this is the story that shook America. What happened in that parking lot? And why did Kelsey never make it home? Kelsey Smith, 18 years old, went on a normal trip to Target. She entered the store like any other customer. At first, everything seemed normal, but upon closer inspection, it appears she was being watched. A few minutes later, she went out towards her car, and there, what happened turned the story upside down. That night, Kelsey did not return home. The police in Overland Park announced the search for a missing girl. She left the store around 7 p.m. and was not seen afterward. Until that moment, there was no clear evidence of a crime. Officially, just a missing girl. The family resorted to the media, newspapers, radios, television channels, any means to get her photo and their message out. Pray for her. Kelsey, if you can hear us, we are looking for you. We will not stop until we bring you back. Today seemed like a normal day for the Smith family. The father, Greg, a police officer on leave, the mother, Missy, and the daughter, Kelsey, who was still celebrating her graduation that afternoon. She drove her car to Target. She wanted to buy a gift for her boyfriend, John, for their 6-month anniversary. A simple mission, a quick trip and back. But the date didn't happen. John arrived at her house at 7:30 as they had agreed, and he didn't find her. He waited for half an hour in vain. His calls were unanswered. The anxiety began to escalate. Kelsey was not the type to be late without telling her parents. On the contrary, she always made sure to reassure them. The father, Greg, used his police experience. He began calling police stations in the area. "Have you come across this car? This is its license plate number. Has there been any accident?" It wasn't a missing person report, but a desperate search by a father and a police officer. Half an hour later, the family decided to go to the store. Maybe she was stuck in the parking lot and couldn't communicate, but they found no trace of her or her car. The situation became more serious. They began search tours around the area, and in a shopping center opposite, they found the car. But Kelsey herself was not there. The father realized immediately. The car is in a different place. This is a dangerous sign. It could be a crime scene. He asked everyone to stay away and called the police 4 hours after Kelsey was last seen. The investigations officially began. As soon as the police arrived, the investigators began examining Kelsey's car with great care. They were looking for any trace, even the smallest thread that could lead to her location. Inside the car, her handbag was found. The wrapping paper and the gift she bought from Target were also found. Everyone realized that the situation was serious, but what was striking was that the inside of the car showed no signs of a struggle. No blood, no broken glass, no mess. However, there was something strange on the outside. The investigators noticed a small piece of cloth sticking out of the rear trunk. Suspicion dominated the scene. Could Kelsey be stuffed in there? Silence reigned for seconds. Someone said, "We hope she's inside alive, but we fear the opposite." The trunk was opened. The result? She was not there. The shock hit the father, Greg. He sat on the ground repeating, "This is serious. It's no longer a matter of delay. Where is my daughter?" Kelsey, a girl who was not more than 18 years old. She graduated only 9 days ago. She was preparing to enroll in Kansas State University to study veterinary medicine. A high-achieving, cheerful student, well known among her friends, but she suddenly disappeared, without a trace. The police continued to search the car, but no evidence appeared that would lead them to her location. It seemed as if someone else had deliberately driven the car to the parking lot and left it there. Kelsey's disappearance remained a complete mystery until one of the officers noticed a surveillance camera directed at the parking lot. But the problem was that it was late, and there was no employee to provide the recordings before the next morning. In the meantime, the investigators focused on questioning the family and friends. The father, Greg, and the mother, Missy, were taken to an interrogation room, a routine procedure. But officially they became persons of interest. Greg said to his wife, "Do you realize? They are watching us now. We are officially suspects." She replied, "I know," he said, "we have to answer all questions clearly. So they take us out of the circle of suspicion and look for the real perpetrator." The investigation with them did not last long. The investigators quickly confirmed that Greg and Missy were not suspects. The next step was clear. Focus on the last person Kelsey spent time with, her boyfriend, John. He spent most of the last few days with her, and he was the last to see her. The family did not suspect him. To them, John was a decent young man. It never occurred to them that he could be involved, but the investigators saw otherwise. They asked him the same questions repeatedly, in different ways, monitoring his reactions, looking for contradictions. The investigators pressured him hard, but he remained calm, repeating the same details without confusion. He was quickly proven innocent. He knew nothing about her disappearance. 8 hours passed since the start of the investigation. Without any thread leading to her whereabouts, the family could not bear to wait any longer. They began their own search operation. The statistics are clear. The first 48 hours after a disappearance are the most important. After that, the chances of finding the missing person alive decrease significantly. Greg, Missy, and John gathered hundreds of volunteers. They spread out in small teams carrying flyers with Kelsey's photo. They knocked on doors, asked neighbors, and searched every street. One of her sisters said, "We didn't know the nature of our community until then. Hundreds of people, complete strangers, came out to help us. They became like our family." More than 12 hours after her disappearance, the police finally got the parking lot camera recordings. They began reviewing long hours of video. At 9:17 p.m., a car appeared entering the parking lot. The driver got out calmly and left, but the image was blurry. A dead end for the investigators. The family continued the search. A nearby restaurant camera captured a girl sitting with her back to the camera, who looked like Kelsey. The family rushed to watch the recording. They thought it might be her, but it turned out not to be Kelsey. The bet remained on the surveillance cameras inside Target. The store is equipped with more than 40 cameras, and the recordings covered the entire route. At 6:54 p.m., Kelsey appeared entering the parking lot. She left her car and headed to the store entrance. The cameras followed her path moment by moment. She walked between the shelves, choosing what she needed. She stopped at the cashier, said a few words, paid, and then left. Just 10 minutes after entering, she returned to her car, sat behind the wheel, and left the parking lot. Everything seemed routine, but the investigators suspected a detail outside the frame. Time was passing without a clear lead. The next day, 24 hours after her disappearance, a team of 10 investigators gathered to re-examine the recordings inside the police station. They watched the footage many times. At first, nothing unusual appeared. Kelsey did not talk to anyone. No stranger approached her. She left calmly, walked around the car, sat in the driver's seat, and closed the door. But upon closer inspection, a very precise detail appeared that was almost missed. As she opened the door and sat down, a quick movement appeared next to the car on the left side. A person rushes for a moment, then disappears from the camera's angle. A few seconds later, the car moves and leaves. Silence reigned in the room. One of the investigators said, "This is a kidnapping." There was no longer any doubt. The police were forced to confront the family with the harsh truth. Their daughter did not disappear alone, but was taken by force. Everyone seemed helpless, but who is the perpetrator? The investigators returned to the footage again, this time focusing on who was watching her, and there appeared a young man wearing a light-colored shirt and dark shorts. He followed her calmly, watching her movements until she approached the cashier. As soon as she finished paying, he deliberately moved toward the exit door as if he wanted to get ahead of her to be outside waiting for her. The investigators needed a clear photo of his face. The camera mounted at the exit aisle between the doors finally provided the required shot. His face appeared in full clarity, 25 hours after Kelsey's disappearance. The police announced his photo to the public, a thin white young man with short hair, and they asked for help identifying him. But instead of help, calls poured in. About 2,000 reports came in a short time. Each one is a possibility that needs to be followed up. And if all of them were investigated, it would take 2 weeks. Time was not available. So the investigators returned to the recordings again. This time the picture appeared clearer. The suspect runs behind Kelsey, pushes her forcefully into her car. Another shot showed her car entering the Macy's parking lot at 9:17 p.m., a few steps away from Target. The suspect gets out calmly, closes the door, and walks away as if nothing happened. The investigators began to think of a new possibility. Did he leave the car temporarily, to return later and take his own vehicle? They relied on timing. They reviewed the Target parking lot recordings after 9:17, and at 9:22 p.m., a dark truck appeared leaving the parking lot. The suspicion increased. If this truck belonged to the suspect, the cameras must have captured the moment he arrived, and by returning to the time Kelsey arrived at 6:54 p.m., a dark blue truck appeared entering the parking lot just 1 minute later. The footage gave the police an additional glimpse of the suspect. The image is blurry but sufficient. A white man, short hair, wearing a white shirt, driving a blue truck. The suspect became clearer 3.5 days after Kelsey's disappearance. The first tangible lead appeared. A phone call reached the police. "I know the man in the video. His name is Edwin Hall." Within hours, 2 other calls confirmed it, one from a colleague at work, and the other from a friend. Both said with confidence, "This is Edwin Hall, the owner of the blue truck." But there was a problem. His photo filled the local newspapers, and this most likely made him try to escape indeed. When the officers arrived at his house, they found him with his wife loading boxes and bags into the car. They looked like they were getting ready to leave. Despite that, he was arrested immediately. His fingerprints were taken, and the investigation began. The question on everyone's mind: where is Kelsey Smith? Edwin denied knowing her. He admitted that he was the person in the video, but claimed that he only followed her because he found her attractive. He confirmed that he did not approach her after she left the store, but the lab report arrived quickly. One of his fingerprints matched a print found on the seatbelt in Kelsey's car. The evidence was conclusive. The identity of the person in the video became known. Edwin Hall confessed that he had been watching Kelsey since she entered the parking lot. He waited for her to return to her car, then threatened her with a gun and forced her to drive. 2 hours later, he returned alone, left her car in the Macy's parking lot, then walked back to his truck and left. 4 days after her disappearance, the police obtained her phone records. By reviewing the cell towers, they tracked the last signal her phone sent to her friend's phone at 7:56 p.m. The location led them to the Longview Lake area, a large park surrounded by trees about 20 minutes from the store. Search teams immediately set off. Just 45 minutes later, the call came to Detective Bob Miller. "We found Kelsey, but she was not alive. She was found murdered, strangled to death." The family received the news at the end of their driveway. The mother's scream rang out, "It's not my daughter. It's not Kelsey." The father sat crying, broken. One of her sisters said, "I saw my father cry for the first time. I screamed no and fell to the ground. I couldn't even move." Edwin Hall was charged with the murder of Kelsey Smith. He faced the death penalty, but he pleaded guilty. The sentence was life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. In court he was asked, "How do you plead to this charge?" He answered with one word, "Guilty." The investigators asked him about other crimes in the Midwest states. He replied, "No, this is the first time I have killed." But some officers believed he was not telling the truth. The conclusive evidence came from the cameras. They were what proved his involvement, but they could not save the life of an innocent girl who was 18 years old. Her friends said, "If we could send her a message now, it would be one word: we're sorry in your opinion." Were the investigations delayed in the first crucial hours? This was the story of Kelsey Smith. Every life carries a story. Some end in pain, some in silence. This was one of them, but many more remain. Stay with us until the next story.